want to do a master's degree, but you're not quite sure where to start. Now, I'm Jordan, I'm a PhD student, and I'm here to give you a bit of a deep dive into what the master's market looks like. Now, first of all, you need to start off with your circumstance. Now, if you're already working currently, you might want to think about doing your master's part-time or distance learning because you don't want to leave that job, or you're using the master's as an opportunity to promote up. Now, that is completely fine. That is what I did with my distance learning program. And as a result, you can either do it via distance learning, particularly within business or within STEM degrees, or you can decide, you know what, I'm going to do part time, I'll go in as normal. You can do various different practical courses in that manner. It'll just take you a bit longer. Rather than being 1 year programs, they'll become 3 year programs. All of those are different options that are available to you. Now, equally, if you're a student who's just thinking, I've just finished my bachelor. Now, if you're a student who's just graduated your bachelor's degree, you might be thinking what options are available for me as a progressing student. Now, you can stay at that university. You'll normally get some form of discount on your tuition fees to cover that. That is one option for you. You can also go elsewhere and study at a completely different institution. Now, you can also choose whether you want to do a Masters of Science, Masters of the Arts. You can decide whether you want to do a more research focused degree because you've got ambition to do a PhD. I will say there's benefits of doing more research focused if that's the pathway you want to go, but don't feel that you need to do a master's of research to pursue a PhD. You can get on that pathway off an MSc, you can get off that pathway off an MSc, of an MSci, or an MA, depending on the type of PhD you're applying for. Now, equally, if you're deciding you want to take a bit of a break, for whatever reason, you can take a break and come back to it at a later point. You can also use the various different pieces of professional experience to bump up that existing degree that you have. And most people who apply for master's degrees can have 2 2s, 2 1s, or firsts. Now, it's not impossible to get on with a third. You just generally need to evidence some further professional experience or various different volunteer work or something that can show the more rounded elements of you as a student. Now, equally, if you're someone who's never gone to university before, maybe you're a mature student who's decided, you know what, I want to go to university, it's finally the right time, and I want to see what it is, I want to learn more about a particular subject. If it's close to your job and your profession already, you can just use that as effectively a way of crediting your knowledge and apply for a master's straight off the bat. And that is a complete option that's available for you. Some institutions will take that straight away, and some universities you just have to write a more convincing cover letter, but it's certainly doable. And the other option is whether you are looking at integrating that with some form of professional qualification, some of which will allow you to do that, whether you want to do that have been endorsed by institutes of project management, various different professional bodies. All different options are available to you depending on which professional body you're looking for joining, and you can look at what courses they offer. Examples might be health and safety, various science institutions, or management or business. Equally, you might decide you want to do an MBA. That is now some people do a master's and then an MBA. And again, something else to consider. It's not something I've done personally, but it's something that is certainly an option that individuals who want to go more to industry rather than down the research route towards PhD certainly consider doing. The only caveat I would add is the MBA generally requires a lot more funding. Most people tend to do it as a part of their job, whereas masters you can generally fund through postgraduate loan. That brings us on to funding. Now, you can apply for a postgraduate loan for a master's degree and for a PhD if you're an English student, whereas not all of the devolved governments offer the same amount of loan incentives, but that's something that you've got to consider. What is the right funding model for you? Now, you can take out a master's loan up to around 12 grand. And the challenge that you have here is if the master's degree tuition fee cost is over that, then you've got to somehow fund that through private means, whether that's through savings, for a loan yourself, whatever method works for you and what is right for your circumstances, situation, and to get on the degree that you're looking for. That's the thing that you've got to consider. If you've got an employer who's willing to contribute, then by all means, see if you can get the employer to contribute towards a master's degree. The only difference as well to note with this type of loan is it's also your living expenses. Tuition fee, living expenses, all married up together. Now, different than your tuition fees for an undergraduate course where you have them is two separate pots. The other difference is it's not means tested. So if you want to take just the amount for the tuition fee or you want to take the full whack of the loan, I need to stretch this out over 3 years and that is the duration of your program. You can either assign that so it goes in to those particular pots at that particular point. If you're a student who's doing a master's part-time, so it's stretched over 3 years, and equally for master's students who are considering it over a 1 year, that tuition fee goes in based on the semester of study. So you've got to bear in mind that if you're a 3 year student, then you'll have free payments throughout 1 year, free payments for the next, and free payments for the next. And you've got to budget accordingly because they'll give you the full whack for each of those semesters. That's just something that you've got to bear in mind in terms of budgeting for it. Now, you can decide however way it works for you, decide how much of the loan you need to take, or if you want to take it at all, and then work out what is the right payment method for you. Now, the universities will be supportive. There are scholarships available, but they are competitive and they are often more means tested on the scholarship side. But that's something else to consider. Now, if you're thinking of doing this in terms of a professional program, you need to look for what professional bodies endorse it, such as Masters in Educations will generally be quite well received based on various different universities. They'll also be quite well received in schools, but ideally you want to make sure that they've got qualified teacher or lecturer status. That's something to look out for, or that you can do your advanced HE fellowship. Now, that again, both of them do arguably the same thing, but that's something to look out for. Equally, this depends if you want to teach in schools or it depends if you want to teach at university, because again, two different systems. That you equally, if you're looking at other types of endorsement on your qualification, you need to look for the professional bodies that regulate your industry, and those are the ones that endorse the qualification. What you can normally find is their logo will be on the university's page if they're endorsed by that particular organization or governing body. That's a key thing that you need to look out for. Sometimes those endorsements may carry more weight in certain industries and less weight in others. That is entirely dependent on the course. Equally, the next point is around name recognition. Now, a lot of universities will be seen more valuable by some industries and less valuable by others. Their course might be well regarded or less well regarded depending on the industry you're working in. And that's something that you've got to consider. Equally, if that's something that's a priority, see what courses are available from them, and equally then go and have a look at the range of different courses or alternative programs that are taught at other universities. An example would be if you're looking for find a master's, that would be the website that I would recommend going to just have a look at what different courses are available. And bear in mind, you don't necessarily just have to do it in the UK. You can go further afield and study a variety. You can go and study in various different places and get more of a feel for being an international student as well as being a postgraduate student. Those are all things that you should consider and that you should be looking out for. Thank you very much for listening. And if you have any questions, then please drop a comment and I'll try my best to answer as many different questions as possible. Best of luck with your academic journey.